The cafe smelled faintly of roasted coffee beans and freshly baked bread, a comforting scent that clung to the air like a warm blanket on a winter morning. Soft jazz music played in the background, and the low hum of conversations filled the room. At one corner table, near the large glass window where sunlight spilled across polished wood, she sat nervously, adjusting the hem of her dress for what felt like the 10th time. Her name was Elena, a young woman who had known her fair share of disappointments, heartbreaks, and lessons in trust. And today, she was stepping into something she promised herself she would never try again. A blind date. Her heart raced as she checked the time on her phone. He was 5 minutes late. She reminded herself not to expect much. Her best friend had insisted that she give this another chance. Not everyone is the same, her friend had said. Sometimes the right person shows up when you least expect it. But deep down, Elena was tired of false promises, of men who only looked at her as someone to pass time with, not as someone to love. She whispered to herself, just one coffee, and if he's a disaster, I'm leaving. Before I take you deeper into Elena's story, let me pause here. Because if you've ever been in her shoes, if you've ever waited for someone with a fragile hope in your heart, then you'll understand why this story will touch you deeply. And if you want to hear more stories like this, raw, emotional, and filled with life lessons, don't forget to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Whispers of Keenness. Your support keeps these heartfelt stories alive. The cafe door opened, and in walked a man who seemed, at first glance, entirely out of place. His shirt was simple, slightly worn, and his shoes had seen better days. He looked like someone who worked hard, someone who probably carried struggles silently on his shoulders. His name was Daniel, and as his eyes scanned the cafe, they landed on Elena. He smiled, a smile that was genuine, not rehearsed, and he walked over. "Elena?" he asked softly, his voice carrying warmth. She nodded, surprised at how calm he seemed. She had expected arrogance, or at least nerves, but there was something disarmingly simple about him. He wasn't flashy. He didn't come in with expensive cologne, no designer suit, no polished image that screamed, "Look at me." Instead, he carried himself with quiet confidence, the kind of presence that didn't need embellishment. They began talking, and at first, Elena guarded her words. She asked him about his work, and he chuckled, saying he did odd jobs. He mentioned helping at construction sites, sometimes doing repairs, whatever work came his way. His words painted a picture of a man who lived humbly, paycheck to paycheck, never knowing what tomorrow might bring. Elena listened, surprised by how different this was from her past dates. There were no boasts about money, no endless stories about vacations or cars. Instead, Daniel asked about her passions, her dreams. When she mentioned she loved painting but had given it up to focus on practical work, he leaned forward, eyes shining. "Why would you give up something that makes your heart alive?" he asked. The question hit her unexpectedly hard. No one had ever asked her that before. Hours slipped by unnoticed, and when the cafe began to close, Elena realized she didn't want the night to end. But a voice in her head kept whispering, "He's not what you're looking for. He's struggling. He has no stability. How can this ever work?" Still, there was something magnetic about him, and against her own logic, she agreed when he asked if they could meet again. Days turned into weeks, and each time they met, Daniel revealed more layers of himself. He was kind in small, unnoticed ways. He always tipped waiters generously, even when he looked like he couldn't afford it. He carried groceries for elderly strangers. He listened, really listened, when Elena spoke. With him, she felt seen in a way no one else had ever made her feel. But doubts haunted her. One night, after another long walk with Daniel, where they shared laughter under the stars, she confided in her friend. "He makes me happy, but he's struggling. What kind of future could we have?" Her friend's response was simple. "Do you want a future built on wealth or on love?" That question lingered in her mind. She didn't know then that Daniel was carrying a secret so big it could shake the foundation of everything she thought she knew about him. Because Daniel wasn't poor. He wasn't struggling. He was in fact the CEO of a multinational company, one of the youngest self-made millionaires in the city. The shabby clothes, the odd job story, everything was part of a disguise. After years of being treated like a prize to be won, a bank account to be exploited, Daniel had decided he wanted to know who could love him for his soul, not his fortune. And Elena was the first woman who didn't ask about what he owned, who didn't care about how much he made, who sat with him on park benches and shared sandwiches instead of dreaming about expensive restaurants. She loved his heart, not his wallet. The turning point came one evening when Elena saw Daniel in a place she never expected. She had been invited by her company's boss to attend a charity gala, an event filled with glittering gowns, champagne glasses, and polished businessmen. She walked into the grand hall and froze. There, standing on stage in a perfectly tailored suit, addressing the crowd with poise and authority, was Daniel. Not the humble handyman she thought she knew, but Daniel Alexander Reed, the CEO, philanthropist, and billionaire she'd seen featured in magazines before. The room applauded his speech about generosity and leadership, but Elena could only hear the deafening sound of her heart breaking. Was everything a lie? She left the hall quietly, tears burning her eyes. Later that night, Daniel found her sitting by the fountain outside, her dress shimmering under the city lights. He approached, his face etched with regret. "Elena, I wanted to tell you, but I was afraid. Afraid that if you knew, you'd stop seeing me as me." Her voice trembled. "You made me believe you were someone else. Do you know how humiliating it feels to realize I didn't even know the man I was falling for?" Daniel knelt beside her. "The man you fell for is the same man sitting in front of you right now. The money, the title, it doesn't change who I am inside. I just needed to know that someone could love me for me, not for what I have." Elena looked into his eyes, and for the first time, she saw the weight he carried, the loneliness behind his disguise, the fear of being valued only for his bank account. Her anger softened, though the wound was still raw. She stood, her voice quiet but firm. "I need time, Daniel, to know if I can trust you again, because love without trust, it doesn't survive." The days that followed were filled with silence. Daniel respected her space, though it tore at him. He sent her a single message every morning: "Good morning. I hope today brings you peace." No declarations, no apologies, just presence. Slowly, Elena began to see that the man she loved hadn't disappeared behind wealth or titles. He was still the same Daniel who asked about her dreams, who walked with her under the stars, who believed in her art. And when she finally agreed to see him again, she didn't meet him in a fancy office or a luxury car. She met him back at that little cafe where it all began. He came in, no disguise this time, simply himself. "Tell me one thing," Elena said softly. "If I choose you, not your world, not your money, but just you, will you promise never to hide from me again?" Daniel took her hands, his voice breaking with emotion. "I swear. No more masks, no more walls. Just me, always." And in that moment, Elena realized the truth she had been searching for. Love wasn't about the weight of a wallet. It was about the weight of a heart. Before I close this chapter of Elena and Daniel's journey, let me remind you, if their story touched your heart, if it reminded you that true love sees past appearances, then please like this video, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to Whispers of Kindness. Every click, every word from you, keeps these stories alive and spreading to hearts that need them. Years later, Elena would look back on that first blind date and smile. Not because of the secret Daniel carried, but because that was the day she met a man who proved that kindness, honesty, and love could withstand even the deepest fears. And as they walked together through the seasons of life, she realized that sometimes the greatest blessings come disguised in the most unexpected ways. Love, after all, is not about finding someone who shines brightest in the world's eyes. It's about finding the one who shines brightest in yours.